What's up, everybody? Today on this episode of The Tools We Use, you're getting somewhat of a twofer. We are talking about GitLab and GitHub and their benefits to anyone in the sysadmin section or development or really DevSecOps these days, because we're getting compressed into more and more roles and more work, but you're still one person. So you need these tools to help you get along. So stay tuned and we'll discuss these tools together. So GitLab is the tool that I'm most familiar with. It is the DevSecOps platform. And essentially what that means is it's got a really cool lifecycle control for all of your code. So you build, code, plan, test, release, deploy, operate, monitor, and it follows this build and release model over and over. It contains things that you will all need when you're doing any sort of project design related to code, if you're building any automation scripts, if you're adding anything to any applications that your environment requires, if you need team planning, metrics, all this crazy awesome stuff that exists within development, it's here. In the old days, it was in what was called Subversion, and I don't believe anyone actually uses that anymore. They might. If you use Subversion, let me know. I would be curious to see how that's going for you compared to something like GitLab. And of course, you can get a free trial here. What's really cool is, let's go over to pricing. It's nice and free. For the essential features are available for individual users for free. You get 50 gigs of storage. This is all for their cloud offering, and all of this stuff. Almost all of it is free if you go with the community edition, which is what we use at our workplace. You essentially just install it in a Linux OS. So like Alma, Debian, Ubuntu, Cent, OpenSUSE. You can throw it up in the cloud if you want to, or put it on a Raspberry Pi. It doesn't need that much. Kubernetes. I mean, you can put it pretty much anywhere, and it's really cool to have. And I would show you if we had one set up. It's essentially the same thing as GitHub, but you run it locally so that you don't have any concern that your code is on the internet in the wild. Though it does have stuff to protect you from accidentally putting sensitive information in. It has the way to look at stuff and go, oh, wait, you've got your password in there and it's not encrypted or anything. Is that really what you want to do? That's not a good idea. It's very cool that it has all that. And then, if you want to try some different ways that the community has managed to get GitLab running, you can do that. But I highly recommend the GitLab Community Edition. Tons of cool stuff there. Great environment space, lots of good resources on getting this started, and it's actually pretty easy to set up compared to other software I've had to set up, especially recently. But it does tons of amazing things for your code. So now let's talk about GitHub. GitHub is pretty much the same product, but it is owned by Microsoft. So for some folks, that is a big no-no. But it's got collaboration tools, it's got security and compliance tools, it's got marketplace integrations, you've got support if you want to pay for it. It's got all this cool stuff. And what I really like about GitHub is, and you should have an account to GitHub. I have my own public repo, which is linked in the description of most of the YouTube videos, where I keep, documentation related to this entire YouTube project. And you can see info here. This is the readme.md file right there. All of this stuff is markdown language. So we can click on this and see it. Maybe we want to edit something. You go in here and of course it looks different because it's got markdown formatting. So let's say we wanted to do that. And then since I'm making a change, I need to put in info updating for YouTube video. And I'm just doing commit directly because it's just a one-man show. I don't need to do branches and all that. And you can see we changed this. And then now we have a full history of the commit. So it's right there. I've made all of these and they've been verified. And this is the one we just made. So that's very cool. Another cool thing about GitHub is if you're working with other projects, or you're using other GitHubs for things, you can track stuff in here. Okay, here it is. So these are some other modules I'm not really participating in, but I have questions about the development of that module, issues that I've had with using these GitHubs, these Gits, once I've cloned them down onto a system. And that's how I've kind of been able to maintain and track what all I'm using on GitHub. And a lot of open source software uses GitHub. You can help with these projects via GitHub, and it's much more public, because the idea is that it's for public facing code. It's for all these open source projects that you want to work together on and help support and help make better. And that's kind of cool. And I'm kind of trying to do that too. But that's it for the tools we use this week. GitHub and GitLab. We will dive into them a bit more as we get our server infrastructure stood up. We might even install a GitLab server, but we may just use GitHub the entire time because we've kind of got everything here we need. And we'll just go from there. So I hope you enjoyed that episode of the tools you use. Let me know in the comments if you use GitHub or GitLab, or if you use both, and what kind of different projects you're working on and what kind of things you use them for. And don't forget to like and subscribe as usual, so that you get all the new wonderful notifications about other videos in this series. And have a good day, and we'll see you in the next one.